from Richmond, Virginia. I am Shane Martin. I am from the Spiritist Society of Richmond. Welcome. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you today. And we're talking about the law of society. So before we start, we are going to bring in the good vibrations by reading a message from the book Happy Life by the Spirit Joanna De Angelis through the medium Divaldo Franco. Joanna says, in today's chaotic world, take some time for silence. It will translate into inner quietude. Agitation, commotion, and non-stop chatter disharmonize the emotional centers of balance. Listen more than you speak. Think before expressing your opinion. Walk away from commotion, preserving your peace of mind. This is the right approach to every moment of your life. So now, as we normally do, we're going to start our session tonight by saying a prayer. So in Spiritism, we know that prayer is a communication between us and our divine creator. So we recommend for prayers that you close your eyes to take out all the visual input around you that may be distracting. And we want to repeat mentally, if you are with others, or you can even say it out loud if you're by yourself, the words of whoever is praying. That way we can augment our efforts and put out our thoughts together and augment the strength of our prayers. Dear Mother, Father God, we are here today, thankful for the opportunity of having one more lifetime, one more existence, and the blessings of knowing of your laws and of your teachings. Tonight we ask that these moments of reflection be of service to those around us, in both realms of life. Please help us, dear Lord, to open our minds and our hearts to the presence and inspiration of our guardian angels. We hope that these moments of reflection unite us together as one humanity, and may they soothe the suffering of those all around us. We pray that we can be of service to you today and always. And with your permission, we begin today's studies. And so be it. Dear friends, welcome. So now, as we are all, hopefully, observing our stay-at-home orders in our individual and collective social isolations. Remember, we are socially isolated, physically isolated from one another because we're going through the COVID-19 pandemic. However, you and I know that in Spiritism, we are spirits, temporarily incarnated souls. We have a spirit, a perispirit, our spiritual body, and our physical body. So we want to make sure we know that we can communicate with one another. We're physically isolated, but in the hearts connected with one another. So we are in this together. So let's use the resources we have to be together, because there's got to be a reason why you and I and all of humanity in both realms are undergoing these times together. So why do we want to know about the law of society? So I'm already telling you by saying law of society that it's a law. And where does that law come from? The law of society comes from the Spirit's book. In the third part of the Spirit's book by Alan Kardec, this is the version I have, has 4 parts. The third part are the divine laws. So in the Spirit's book, we are talking about divine laws, immutable laws that God has created. And those are the laws we have. We have the law of worship, the law of labor, the law of reproduction, the law of preservation, the law of destruction, the law of society, the law of progress, the law of equality, the law of freedom, the law of justice, love, and charity, as didactically brought to us by Alan Kardec. As we are here together, we know the Spiritist book, part 3, has 278 questions and answers. So right now in quarantine is the best time we have to go through, dust off all of our Spiritist book. They're sitting around. There are, we always wanted to have time to learn. So we are here going through this experience of isolation and togetherness. So we are all on this together. So let's talk a little bit about the law of society. And the spirits bring to us, we have these laws. And these laws are made by God. And they're immutable, such as God is. So we're not talking about human laws, because human laws change as you and I change over time. These are laws that are immutable. They are with us since we were created. Okay, so why do we need to know them? Where are these laws written? Kardec asks in questions in answer 621. He says, in our conscience, the spirits reply. So you and I, created, simple and ignorant, go through many different experiences in different reincarnations. We go through experience in this world, in different worlds, and hopefully other better worlds in the future. And every time you and I learn. And the beauty of this teaching, that the laws of God are in our conscience, in your conscience, in my conscience, in our conscience, is that they didn't say the laws of God are written on the Spirit's book, even though they're here, they brought to us, or the laws of God are written X book, Y book, Z book. They're inside of ourselves. So all we need to do to know of these laws is to look within. However, sometimes we forget. So the spirits tell us that we forget. So sometimes we need to be reminded of these laws. And how do the spirits remind us? How does God remind us of this law? God sent prophets. God sent missionaries to the world so that every now and then they can remind us that we are divine beings, that the laws are inside of ourselves and we can know of it and, most importantly, practice it. Okay, so we have laws. The laws are in our conscience. There are 10 laws based, as Kardec reminds us, in the Mosaic law. Remember the 10 commandments. Let's talk then about the law of society. Okay, Kardec asks questions and answers 766. Is societal life natural? In other words, are we on this together? Are we supposed to be here together? Or are we supposed to be alone and isolated from one another? The spirits answer, certainly, God has made humans for living in society. Otherwise, it would have been needless for God to have endowed them with speech and the other faculties necessary for a life of relationships. So that's the beauty of it. Nothing in nature is made that is useless. Nothing is wasted. If you look at nature around you, everything has a purpose and a reason. Our bodies have a purpose and a reason. Everything, even in the physiology of our bodies, is to conserve and to be efficient. So we have these faculties. In this case, we can talk to one another. We can hear one another. We have the senses. Those are faculties given to us by God to interact. Therefore, God made us to live in society, right? We have resources. Sometimes we lack resources, but that doesn't mean we're supposed to be alone. We progress through the contact with one another. We refine our knowledge. We refine our abilities by being in touch with one another. However, what is a society made of? Okay, so I'm talking about the law of society, but what is a society made of? So first and foremost, societies start in families. Here is our physical family, and there is, in this case, we are showing the presence of our spiritual family. So we have family that are with us in the physical body, and then we have family in our spiritual life as well. So society is made of a collection of people, peoples and nations, schools. Here we have our representative of the legislative body. So societies have rules and regulations. We have all the workers and all the professions. We have parents, siblings, we have friends, and so on and so forth. So society is made of um, a, a group of people that are gathered together in a specific location, specific set of rules and cultures and languages, and then different rules and regulations. But mainly, the most important part of society start with you and I and our families. And societies need a basis of society are interactions and regulations. The way you and I relate to one another, the way you and I help one another. From the Spirit's book, we travel now to the book Foreign Life by Emmanuel. So here today, I'm going to be mainly quoting from the Spirit's book. We always go and look at the source. Kardec is our source. However, there are other books that published after Kardec that are also very important for us to read. One of them is the book Foreign Life by Emmanuel. There's 30 chapters on this book. And each chapter deals with one topic. In chapter 18 is titled Society. So in this book is one of them. The other book we're going to talk about a little bit later is the book Spiritist Conduct. This one is not yet in English, but a lot of the chapters have been published in the Spiritist magazine, and I know that it's been translated and it's probably under revision for publication, right? So in the chapter 18, Emmanuel brings to us through the mediumship of Chico Xavier. As a parenthesis, we always want to say that we are deeply indebted to the mediums in the times of Kardec until now who dedicate their lives to bring these beautiful teachings to us, because without these teachings and their sacrifices, we would not be here. So let's honor them by studying and reading those teachings. So here in chapter 18, Emmanuel tells us, the society is a collective home of people where racial and social affinities are defined, and is itself the sum total of the emotions and thoughts of its inhabitants. So knowing what a divine law is, knowing that divine laws are immutable, knowing that divine laws are inside you and I in our conscience, allow us to have the agency and the knowledge to create new normals, new habits, moving from what we were to what we're going to be, which are pure spirits. So here it is. Societies are sum total of the emotions and thoughts of its inhabitants. And in these times of social isolations, where we are all feeling and we are all consuming 24/7 news, we want to think about that you and I have the power to choose good thoughts and good emotions. So if each and every one of us does that, the collective sum around us would be of good thoughts and emotions. And that's why sometimes we can feel fearful, we can feel anxious because there's emotional contagion when everybody's worried. And we have reasons to be worried. However, we know God is in charge. Nothing happens unless God wants. And Jesus, as the governor of the planet, is taking care of each and every one of us. So there's a reason you and I are here together. So your thought creates your life. That's last week's conversation. And if your thought creates your life, the thoughts of all of us create our lives in society. So let's work, most importantly than knowing how to quote, knowing where things live, which we should do. We should study, of course. We always want to see, how does that apply to my life? And today is April 6, 2020. It's a Monday. I am in Richmond, Virginia, which is Eastern Standard Time, the East Coast of the United States. Today, if you or the people around you are fearful and anxious, acknowledge it. Stop and make a choice. Make a choice for your thoughts and your emotions be of goodness, be of healing, of inspiration for the scientists, inspiration for the medical professionals who are taking care of those patients, so we can come together as a collective humankind and progress and conquer this challenge. Okay, so always the sum total of emotions and thoughts. Keep that in mind. Every time you have a thought, you're connecting with someone around in the universe who has the same thought. So we have to be very careful. We are very responsible for our thoughts. So is there a purpose for us in society? So if society is a collective home of people, we have social and racial affinities, and we have the sum of thoughts, emotions, they might say ideas and actions, as in the book For in Life, first chapter says. Is there a purpose for us? And yes, there is. Of course, there is a purpose. In the question and answer 768 of the Spirit's book, Kardec asks, in seeking societal living, do people only obey a personal sentiment, so it's just innate, individual to all of us, or is there a wider providential purpose? So is there a purpose that God wants us to have by living in society? And the Spirit's answer, humans must progress. They cannot do so alone. However, since they do not all possess every faculty, they need contact with others. In isolation, they become brutish and withered. So here it is. The purpose of living in society is progress, evolution. You and I were created simple and ignorant. We went through different experiences, we chose different ways, and we landed where we are today. So your past actions determine that you and I are together in this collective expiation, this collective challenge. However, we can progress alone because you don't know everything. I don't know everything. I have a set of skills. You have a set of skills. We can complement one another. And every time we learn, every time we reincarnate, we are improving morally, we're improving intellectually. We use our intelligence and our knowledge to also allow the planet where we live to progress with us. So we are co-creators with God. We make the place we are at better over time. Remember, we are destined to progress, and we progress through working with one another, which may be right now difficult as we are all in one space. Some families are together for a long time. Some other folks do not have the luxury of being with their families, or do not have the luxury to being socially isolated because they're considered essential workers. Therefore, we need to think about, if we want to progress together, what should you and I do to contribute to that progress? Emmanuel continues, nations like large factories of progress are valuable aid to civilization and significant centers of work where a great number of souls participate in their self-education by serving the community. So you and I are born in a certain place. We grow up and we grow old in the same place and sometimes in other places. As we do that, we are educating ourselves. It's self-education. You can act and you can control yourself By improving yourself, you improve the collective. Remember, the collective is the sum of thoughts and emotions. So if you improve your thoughts, if you improve your emotions that give rise to ideas, that give rise to action, you can have a positive impact on the collective. But always through service. All of the books complement one another. Law of change is the only way we can move forward. Here, Emmanuel is bringing it to us in the 1950s. A great number of souls within each nation participates in self-education by serving the community. So you and I now are able to serve our community by being laborious. We can look at the law of labor, go to the Spirit's book, part 3, Divine Laws, Law of Labor, that shows that labor is any useful activity. So if you know someone that's feeling lonely, that is physically isolated from others because they are at risk of getting sick, reach out to them. Reach out to the family members you haven't talked in a while. Reach out to the friends that you haven't talked to in a while. Because we need to serve one another. We may not be able to serve them physically, go do things for them, but we can use the wonderful technology we have. You and I now are together, connected. And we are connected through a technology someone built. They use their knowledge, they use their intelligence, and they built this. And now we are learning, using your intelligence to use it. Okay? So it's always through service. Service, service, service. What do we learn by living in society? Emmanuel tells us, human society has always been a gigantic of spirits, in which souls learn experiences regarding wealth and poverty, as well as giving and receiving orders. He's going to elaborate a little bit more, and always brings to you other books. So I always want you to think about, where can I learn more? Where can I go to improve? And Spiritism is a science. And as a scientist, I know for a fact that science proves itself by reworking the works of others. So the teachings that André Luiz brings, the teachings that Emmanuel brings, complement and augment the teachings of Kardec. So here he's saying, we learn through experiences. Some of those experiences will be wealth, some will be poverty, some will be in power, some will be serving. And each one of those experiences have a reason, and you can learn. We can learn together. So we have this multitude of lives in Spiritism. We believe that you and I are spirits. Currently, I am the physical body. I have a physical body, so I'm a soul incarnated. Some spirits around me are just spirits. They don't have the physical body. They were human beings who were living on the planet at some point. They might return. I might return in the future. And I know you've been incarnated many times. And every time you reincarnate, you have this plethora of experiences you can have, always for self-education, for learning, for improvement, always through serving others. Those experiences help us grow. In a sense, we are together today based on the decisions we made in previous lives and in this lives. Remember, you have a reincarnatory plan. Before reincarnating, we were hopefully well aware of what the reincarnatory plan was. So we all collectively agreed to go through certain experiences together. So now we have this humbling experience of acceptance. I accept what is, and I act on what I can, which pretty much is your thought, your emotions, your ideas, and your actions. Do we learn anything else? Of course we do. We learn to by this process of having the experiences of wealth, of poverty, of service, and of power. They human beings gather the harvest of their own planting and either remain at ordinary ground level or ascend in obedience to divine evolution. So the law of progress is a law, again, immutable. Just all the laws, the divine laws created. You and I are destined to be pure spirits. You and I are destined to be better. You and I are better today than we were 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. We can decide to stay stationary, or we can ascend in obedience. So we humbly accept this is where we are, and we can say, I am a multi-millenary soul. Can I start planning now for this multi-millennia of experiences? Because I'm going to evolve. I might as well evolve through love and not pain. And what we did today will determine how we are tomorrow. There's no better time to think about if today I choose to stay home and socially distance as the health authorities are requiring of us. Tomorrow we'll have less people that are infected by the virus. And hopefully we'll have less sick people and less deaths from the virus. Because again, we are deciding today what our tomorrow is, just like our today is the result of our previous actions. So we want to go from our old ways to our new ways. We want to make sure we are always moving forward, always improving, always for the better. So always reaching out. If you're the one who is feeling lonely, reach out to your friends and family. If you're in the United States, there's always a line in your community that can be used to reach out when you're alone. If you are having feelings and thoughts of hurting yourself or others, call the suicide line. Drive yourself to the ER. Call first, because you want to make sure that they treat you and you're not infected. But let's learn to observe the needs of others. We planted this situation. We're harvesting what we planted. We're sowing what we're reaping what we sowed. So let's do this exercise of leaving off of myself behind and looking. Is there anybody out there that is better? Can I give more of what I have? If I don't have money to give, can I volunteer my time? Can I call someone? Can I do prayers? Can I read messages and do prayers so people know how to pray? You can guide them in prayer so they know they're not alone. Use what we have for the good. Don't be shy. Do good always, always. And how can I affect? So throughout our lifetimes, we have had impacts on our society and the earth. We hope that our positive impact, now that we're more aware of our condition, is greater than our negative impact. Or there's no such a thing as neutral, because as we know in the Spirit's book, if you go to the beginning of the law of labor, you're going to see that good is what aligns with God's laws. And the lack of good is deviating from the laws. So if you're not doing good, by definition, you're doing evil. So you want to make sure that every day, starting with your thoughts and your emotions, you yearn for that positive impact. And today, if you cannot physically impact for the better, you can do prayers, you can do visualizations, you can start writing down on a gratitude journal what you're grateful for, because there's so much to be grateful for. Share the good news. Do a social media diet. I'm not saying do not go isolate yourself and not knowing what's going on. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you to be selective, to be mindful, to choose what's good. If it's not good, don't follow. If it's not good, definitely don't share. Remember the message we read in the beginning? You want to think before you act. You say something. So if it's for the good of everybody, share. Let people know that a good word. Meet them where they are. Teach someone how to use the technology to do a web meeting together. Remember, our purpose is to grow together with our faculties, our virtues, our abilities. We can positively impact our planet and the society we live in. Okay? So how do we act in society? So as I said in the beginning, the book Spiritist Conduct, go to the Spiritist magazine website, Google the Spiritist magazine. It's a wonderful work of Spiritist knowledge in English. Almost all of them have, all of the volumes, every 3 months a new edition comes out. And then in there, a lot of those volumes have a translated message from the Spiritist conduct. In chapter 9, in society, Andrea Louis shows to us that in society, the Spiritists should show respect to the brothers who fail in their hard tasks. There are fighting pains that only the Supreme Judge can judge in the right conscience. So you and I need to respect the brothers who fail in their hard tasks. So think about, now we may be me at home with our family members and friends, and you're really thinking, oh my God, don't I want to be alone? Aren't they failing me on their hard task? Aren't I failing them on my hard tasks? However, it's Andrea Louis is reminding us there are things that only God, the Supreme Judge, can judge. So my truth, your truth are different. So we have to be respectful of our brothers and sisters. We're supposed to help the supposed to help and unhappy, the learned and the unlearned, with respect and goodness, honor and courtesy. The social conditions only a temporary presentation, and all roles are exchangeable in the succession of existence. So let's go back a little bit. So we are in society. The social condition of what you are today, in a sense, not what you are, because you're spirit temporarily in the flesh. You're a spirit that is evolving every day towards God. What I mean is what you are as you do in a profession, what kind of role you have in your family, that is temporary. Those are experiences to learn. And tomorrow you may return in a different position. So we need to help everybody, because today I'm in a condition to help. Tomorrow I may be reincarnated in a condition where I need the help. So you would want someone to think less of themselves and more of everybody, so they can help me if I were in need. And don't be shy. If you need help, we need to be able to acknowledge that sometimes we receive, sometimes we give. And it's humility to know that we are all in this together, growing together. In the last part of the Spirit's book, part 3, I marked it here, part 3, chapter 7 is the law of society. The law of society starts here on my book. It starts on page 423. And it ends on page 426. So it's 3 full pages. And there's just so much to learn from those 3 pages. And at the last part, because the chapter is entitled Law of Society, I don't know if you can see, it's tiny. And then there are subtitles. The last part is family ties. Remember, the society starts in the family. In the book, Jesus in the Home, by Neo Lucio, chapter 1, Jesus, it is a description of Jesus' encounters with the disciples in Simon Peter's home. He says the family is the first school for the soul. So it's the first place where those values can be imprinted on us. So you and I come back, return to this physical world, and reincarnate in specific families. So I have my family, you have your family, someone else have their families. And the reason we come together in specific patterns and distributions or organizations, because we need to learn certain things. And as we learn in the books of Andrea Louis, we come back with the people who most likely we've hurt in the past. And we have selfless souls that come in our families as well. They're a little bit ahead of us. They come back and they're humble and they're loving and kind, and they reincarnate with us to give us a boost and try to move us and filter us forward in this progression of evolution. So we need to be knowledgeable that part of our reincarnatory plane is having family ties, is being together. So in the question and answer 774, the spirits bring to us that social ties are necessary for progress, and family ties are summed up in social ties. Hence, family ties are a law of nature. So again, a law of nature is that we live in families. You and I are not born out of nowhere. We're born in a family. And as humans and even as animals, we need people to care for us. Otherwise, we don't survive. So being part of a family is important. The spirits continue. God has thus will that humans learn to love one another as brothers and sisters. Remember the role exchange from the previous slide? So today I'm born as my mom's daughter. Tomorrow I may be born as her sister, as her father, because you know you can have experiences in the female body, you can experience in the male body. And there are many combinations because you want to have those learning experiences. We are here to love and progress together. The spirits answered this question. What would happen if family ties disappear? That's questioning and answers of the Spirits book 775. Magnification of selfishness. So if we were to loosen those family ties, we would be more selfish. So that's why God wills that we learn to love one another. Because by serving others, I self-educate. By serving others, I forget of my needs and I go through the needs of those who are more that need more than I do. So it's very important that we put our family ties first and foremost. We have blood ties, right? The people who we're born with. So when we are serving, let's try to serve the ones closest to us because it's very easy to serve those we love. But let's try to serve those who drive us bananas sometimes, especially during these times of social isolation. So let's learn to love one another as brothers and sisters. Now, dear friends, we're reaching the end of this conversation. And I see that some of you are here with me. Thank you so much for all the likes and all the love. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you. And always, always, we encourage you that you do the same once a week by yourself or with others. Read a message in whatever language of the country you are in. In this case, I'm in the United States, so my studies are in English because I know the spirits around me are in their majority speaking English. So read a message, even if you do study in your own language, read a message in the language of the country so you can give back to that nation that received you. And do a prayer. Do a message, an initial prayer asking for inspiration. This is then you read a text like the Gospel according to Spiritism, Jesus in the Home, or whatever book you choose from the Spiritist literature. There are also Spiritist literature for children. And at the end, we always wrap up with a prayer of love and kindness. And we always recommend that you have a little bit of water with you, so the spirits can come and magnetize the water and give us healing molecules that will aid in our physical existence. So again, for prayer, if you're able to, we ask you that you close your eyes and follow and repeat mentally the words of the prayer so that we can amplify our reach in our kindness. Take a deep breath in, feeling the love of God flowing through you. The wonderful molecules of oxygen nourishing each and every cell of your body. Dear Mother, Father God, we are thankful for the opportunity of being together, for the love and kindness that you bestow upon us each and every day. We kindly request your aid to all of those in humanity, all throughout the world who are suffering. We ask you that you guide and protect us, that you inspire us to be of service to those around us. We ask you, dear Lord, that your strength and your faith reach each and every spirit in this planet. In both realms of life, we ask you for your guidance. We ask you for the loving hands of our mentors, who lovingly embrace us and are always guiding us each and every day. We ask you, dear Lord, that you inspire those who are helping keep food on our tables, those essential workers who are transporting the goods throughout the world. We ask you that you inspire and guide the hands and minds and brains of the healthcare workers who are caring for all the sick on the planet. We ask you, all of those that are in hospitals, psychiatric institutions, orphanages, areas of war, refugee camps, those who do not have a home to go to, those whose families were lost. We ask you that you give to all of those suffering hearts the consolation they yearn. We ask you that all the messengers of light find in us a vehicle to be able to be of use and fulfill your will during this lifetime. Please use us to help those who are around us. We ask you for your permission, and with your protection, we end today's studies. And so be it. Dear friend, what a blessing. I hope that I can see you again, God willing, with the protection and permission of our guardian angels, and of course of our Master Jesus. I hope to see you again in a week. Be well, be safe, take care of yourself, and take care of those around you. See you later.